yes, once again, it's us on your screens and on your podcast device. It is the Big Vibe with Tev and Ty, and today, like we
Yes,
said last week,
sir.
is this special episode. This is episode 5, and it's Vibes with the Wives.
Vibes with the
Yes,
wives, yo.
so you obviously know who we are. We're going to give them an opportunity just to introduce themselves before we get stuck into today's jam-packed show.
Create
So we'll
some
start
context.
on my side with my wife. Hello.
My name is Lisa. I'm from Cape Town. I'm a physiotherapist. I had the privilege of marrying Tev, the other half of
Aw.
the Big Vibe with Tev and Ty. And yeah, we're living in the UK. And yeah, I'm really happy to be married to this guy. Really
Aw.
spoiled. Yeah, we've only got about 10 months on those two over there. So yeah, really excited to be here.
Nice.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, we know Lisa, so it's not, can't really say nice to meet you, but nice to see you. Nice to see you,
It's
Lisa.
really nice.
Now we can start over here on my left.
Yeah, you're left.
On my left, yeah.
Hi, I'm Katya. Married to Tyler. I'm from Johannesburg and I'm head of marketing for a startup. Yeah, I live in Bangkok and I get to enjoy every day with this kid.
And sometimes listen to the podcast.
Sometimes
Hey.
listen to the
Sometimes
podcast,
listen to the
go on some
podcast.
adventures.
And she and I will say that Katya helps us a lot with our marketing. She
Yeah, a
she
little
helps
bit.
me. She taught me what SEO means. She taught me a whole bunch of things. So yeah, now we're finally putting some new faces to the pod. We did say it would be a special
Yes,
episode.
we did.
Yeah, so
man.
here we go.
And this is it. This is it. Like Tyler said, our wives are very instrumental in helping us with this pod. So in the background,
Encouraging
giving us
us.
ideas, and also support-wise, we really get the most support from these two lovely ladies here. With it being a special episode, we've centered a lot of our categories around relationships and love.
Yes, sir.
And the first of those, Tyler's going to kick off in what we call Around the World.
So for the I love it. So for this section of Around the World, I was doing a little bit of research and I have come across a whole bunch of dating apps
Yeah.
that I thought we could discuss, right? Because I think a lot of the time when we think of dating apps, the first thing that comes to mind is probably Tinder, right? They probably revolutionized the day. I think it was first online dating and then it turned into these dating apps,
Yeah.
swipe left, swipe right. I don't even know which direction, but swiping to show interest, right? So I thought, okay, but there must be more because you also hear on like TV shows and stuff, they talk about Grindr, I think is the one that I've heard
Yeah.
probably mentioned the most outside of Tinder. So I came across an article and it had a whole bunch of different dating apps on it. And what I thought we could do is we could run through this list of dating apps and I think we can share our opinions on these dating apps. If we have any thoughts, if we think they are, why they were necessary perhaps. If we were in an alternate universe, perhaps our other selves that were single and looking for love,
Yeah.
maybe they would want to use it. So the first one, obviously Tinder. We know Tinder. I don't think there's much to discuss there.
Yeah.
The second one is called Bumble. Tev, Lisa, have you heard of Bumble?
I have heard of Bumble. A few of my friends have used it. Ladies have found it very interesting because I believe ladies are the ones that message first. Only
Yeah,
ladies
yeah.
message first, and then there's an expiration on that message once they have sent it. I think about 24 hours.
Yes. So I think 24 hours to like respond. And I think the whole idea behind Bumble was that they did a study and they were finding that women were perhaps being made to feel very uncomfortable on these dating apps, right? So it was kind of like you'd swipe, you'd match, you'd talk, and then they would get an unsolicited picture that you maybe weren't hoping to receive. So I think Bumble was quite a good one that were to come along. Let's ask one of the ladies. Do you think having an app like Bumble was necessary? How do you think it changed the dating app world, I guess?
So, okay, straight up, I can't speak from personal experience. I never was an app girl. But I imagine, and like from speaking to friends, I would imagine that it's quite empowering to have the ball in your court and you have to make the first move. It also cuts down a whole lot of, let's face it, like crap from other people. You actually, filtering things. You can speak your mind.
Yeah.
Putting yourself out there. So I think must be pretty rad.
Yeah.
I don't know, Lise, if you want to add anything.
I think having the option is what makes it so important, that you can choose if you, and I mean, in our world where we're so social, we're still somehow so antisocial, and we struggle to connect with people in real life. And I think for a lot of people, just having the option to be able to reach out to people in a way that might be more comfortable than going up to someone in a public space might make you feel like, oh, I'm actually empowered to connect with someone, where normally if you didn't have maybe the guts to go up and speak to someone in a busy party or in a mall or wherever you might be, it's nice to have the option. So I think
And I think, Bumble even takes it further, that the option then lies with the woman. Like, it's like you're not just matching, it's also like match and then make the choice to follow through with that.
yeah.
I guess that was like
Yeah.
the whole big idea with Bumble.
I think that's the nice thing. Just put the ball in their court, and they get to determine how this plays out.
Yeah.
Plus, you created an atmosphere or an environment where you can have the ideal condition in regards to timing, thinking through what you're going to say. Because, I mean, in person, it's quite a daunting experience. I'm sure Winston, the
First impressions,
That's the
maybe. It's
thing.
always
And
like,
on the
how
foot-
are we going to
on
do
the
it?
other
What we're going to
foot,
say?
and you're approaching someone, you think, what should I say, or what's something that would grab their attention? Are they going to be interested in me? And now you have the luxury of time, and essentially the choice to follow through or not.
Yeah.
Which is,
I think speaking about like ball being in your court, that's actually another very interesting dating app that they have. It's called The League. Now The League is all about you set your, I don't want to say standard,
okay.
but it is basically your standard. You basically say on this app, like, for example, I want the person that matches with me has to be, let's say, older than 25.
Go.
Let's say has to have at least, this might sound bad, but like at least a certain amount of education. Like, I only want to talk to doctors. I only want to meet doctors.
Yeah.
Like criteria.
Like criteria, yeah. So
Right.
basically what the league does is it allows the users to set their criteria of the people that are allowed to speak to them. So not just any old somebody can just swipe right on you, Yeah, it's quite...
It seems like they've taken the principle, the idea of what a lot of people do, especially early on in life, when you kind of make a checklist of the characteristics of your ideal person.
Yes.
Okay, they must be
Yeah.
tall, they must have blonde hair, they must be into sports, like this kind of music. So the fact that you can literally filter that and try and see if what you'd
It's like
see
going shopping.
visually
Going shopping.
like going shopping, yeah.
matches what you'd
You know what aisle to look in.
What I'm looking for.
Exactly,
unreal.
yeah.
I think that's awesome, actually, because like, not to put people in boxes, not in that way, but like you also know what you want and what you don't want, and I think that's pretty rad, you know.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like online shopping as well. Yeah, like,
It's literally online shopping.
there's many options
It's
that
literally
you know in your
online shopping.
size. You know, like-
And I'm curious to see if the match or the output is as accurate in relation to what you filtered out. So is the picture or the physical person what you thought kind of the results of your checklist would be? Does
Like
it
your
always match
criteria is
what
okay.
you'd,
So you thought to be let's say your criteria was that you wanted I don't know, let's say a famous, not a famous athlete, but an athlete,
Yeah.
somebody who's into their sports.
Exactly.
So you wonder if like that criteria automatically means that you're going to get somebody who has a certain kind of body. let's say,
yes.
right?
Oh,
Yeah.
understand.
So like by putting that in, and I also like, how do they check? Like you have to like Dirk your
Oh, yeah,
get your
yeah,
stuff
yeah.
done. Like
Actually
how do,
happening? Like, is there
yeah.
quality here? I could say that I'm 6 foot.
I'm not a robot
blonde,
test. Like how does
I'm
this
from
work?
the Mediterranean, and what kind of verification I think would be happening. So I think to our listeners and viewers out there, if you have used this, also let us know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. But actually, speaking about physical appearances, that actually is leads me to a very cool one that I also read about. It's called s'more, like the American snack s'more.
Yeah, like the
So basically,
marshmallow.
how this works is you get a pixelated or a very, very blurry picture when you match.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to talk to the person that you matched with, and over time the more you talk, they start revealing the picture. So after 5 minutes, the picture becomes a little bit clearer. After 5 minutes, the picture becomes a little bit clearer. And the whole idea is to encourage you to have a deeper connect, like for it not to be entirely physical. So it's like straight up, like we get to know each other. It's almost like that show. What is it where they don't get to see their partner?
Married at First Sight.
Is it Married at First Sight? Or is that what it's
Yeah.
called? Like
Yeah,
where
where
they
you talk
go on
behind
a
the
blind
screen,
date.
and then they propose on the other side of the screen. That
Yes.
one.
How do you call it? Like
Anticipation.
anticipation.
Yeah.
Like like this person's really
Yeah.
cool. I wonder, like, what
Exactly,
does he look
that
like?
fun
Does she
factor
look
that's
like? I guess.
included in addition to who you'd be meeting on the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't there also that other show that who was telling me about it? Was it Ruben and Leslie were talking about it? The show where they start showing from the ankles up. Yeah. Have you heard of the show? I think it's actually British TV. So
Okay.
they start showing from
Wait,
the ankle.
Were you nude?
It's nude, yeah, you're
Yeah,
naked.
yeah.
The person's actually
Jeez.
naked.
Okay, that.
And it starts
Wow.
showing from the ankle up, and they like quite viciously like commentating on everything that they see. So it's like, I mean, quite different,
Yeah.
but just an interesting
So just going back to this, what was it called? S'more?
small, yeah.
I think it's kind of beautifully like poetic or like metaphorical as well. Like the more you speak to someone, the more they like are revealed, right?
Yeah.
There's kind of something like very nice. I don't know. For me, it's something like quite beautiful about that as well.
Yeah.
Which I think is quite
And
cool.
getting to know someone,
think so too.
the more you chat to them, the more they open up. So the more they open up, the more this revealed,
like
and
the
then
more you
physically
see of
it's
them.
being revealed. So
And possibly changes the way you even see that picture, right?
That's-
The first time.
yeah.
Like, you speaking to someone, let's say let's go the negative way. They're arrogant, full of it, like, oh, I can't wait till you see my picture.
Yeah.
And then you already have this bad feeling about this person. Then you see the picture, and perhaps before that, I mean, I know sometimes with you when we're watching TV shows, and I'll be like, do you think that guy's good looking? And you're like, maybe, but his character's not nice, so I don't think he's actually that good looking. You know what I'm saying? Like,
not just the physical appearance.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
at that stage, even if you're talking to this hypothetical person, like, no matter what their picture is, because you've spoken to them, you're probably like, oh, anyway. And
like
then-
I don't even know. I'll leave it pixelated. So let me ask you this then. So now we've got that. What about there's an app that is called, which one is it here? Chorus. So how Chorus works is you set up your dating profile. Let's say Tev sets up his dating profile, or I set up my dating profile, and you list a chorus to represent you. So I start it, and then I say, for example, 4 of my friends will choose, they will run my profile for me. So they will be the ones that are matching on my behalf. So they are kind of like, maybe they think I'm too introverted or something, maybe, or I'm too shy to do this. So they then represent you, and they then try and match for you. They run your
profile.
app. They run your profile. What do you think?
Arranged dating service.
Basically,
Exactly.
put in
Wow.
practice, it's almost like La Bola meets the new world of dating.
It sounds like that primary school thing when people are like, go tell this person that I like them.
Yeah.
Yeah, find out what they
My friend
say.
says you cute.
Yeah, no,
That's-
it's unreal how many options people are getting with dating apps, and it also then goes to show how well your friend knows you, or your loved one, whoever
Yeah.
it is that's vouching for you. How well do they know you? Obviously, there's a lot more input from you. I would assume that they'd give you a heads up that they are creating this, unless it's
I think you probably still, you create the profile yourself,
And then you
so
get
you
them in.
choose, and then they become your chorus, but you're still kind of in control. So I think you can still see what's going on. It's not totally out of your hands, but you can see like the messages that they're sending, and
Yeah.
you choose your representatives.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
There's actually a similar one that I think is actually quite cool. It's called, the name is quite something. It's called Foreplay Social. but like 4 play the number 4.
Okay.
How that would work is, let's say Katya and Lisa set up a joint profile.
Yeah.
Tevin and I set up a joint profile, and then you swipe on double dating, right? So that's like Tevin and I are looking together. I'm not so sure about the logistics or the semantics of who swipes and who runs it, but basically we would naturally see the two of you, and we would naturally be like, these women are beautiful, and we'd like to get to know them a bit better. And then what it does is, as you swipe and you match, it creates a group chat between the 4 people.
Okay.
And then you set up, it kind of also has that kind of, I guess, group protection, like that, like it's not just a one-on-one chat. There's like 4 of us and I think it just makes it a little bit lighter and a little bit easier to like have that conversation.
Yeah, and it's not as, I say, intense as a first date, or as a first meeting, because even meeting new friends, meeting new friend groups can be intimidating. So to give a platform where you've got an idea of who you're going to meet before you even go out to do the physical in-person group meeting is a nice, an easy way to break the ice and kind of fall into it, I would say. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the world is slowly bringing introverts into the forefront, and including people of different opportunities. Because I think before, if you weren't someone who went out with people and you didn't go out to different places and you weren't like frequenting places, you wouldn't meet new people. If you just stayed at home or went out with the same person, it's hard to meet new people. So I think it's nice that people are getting the opportunity to be more social.
Yeah. No, I agree. And also what's nice is that they're starting to create like more and more apps that are more and more inclusive, and not just in terms of like, I mean, I know you also get like your normal, not normal, but like the LGBTQ, those kinds of apps that are out there as well. But now the range of dating apps is getting wider and wider. I mean, I saw one that's like specifically for if you're into astrology, like this app is for you. So it's like, you basically, one of the first things you learn about the person is like their star sign.
Yeah.
I saw one called Taste Buds, which is actually quite a cool name. That's about music. Like you connect based on your music interests. So I think like Lisa's saying, like to include people, not just introverts, but different interests, right? Because I think
Like
we
niches.
all niches, yeah. Because I think we know what it feels like, especially living overseas. Like it's actually sometimes difficult to find people that have similar interests to you, right? And that's just friends that we're talking about. Now imagine like actually trying to find someone that you want to call your partner or to have a deeper connection with. And plus then imagine you're introverted or whatever the case is. It's like, it must be pretty overwhelming, I would imagine,
Man, I would be so screwed. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like I think if I was single today, like I probably wouldn't meet anyone, man. Like I'm so happy to just sit at home and like watch series and read books and chill out. Like it's hard for me. I'm pretty introverted, yeah, I'm lucky I made friends when I did.
Well, at least also and there's a range of apps should you hopefully
that's the
never
thing, like,
but if you should ever need one, they are there.
What I'm saying is I can relate like to what Lisa's saying, people now, there's so many options, and it's great because like, also when you're younger, like when you're studying, for example, or you at that, not necessarily studying, but you're at that point in your life, like, you're early 20s, you're going out, you're meeting people. I don't know, I feel like it's easier, right?
Yes,
you start getting a bit older and it gets harder to meet new people, like not just being like, an immigrant or an expat, but even just if you're at home, like where do you go to meet people? It is a thing, friendships or otherwise.
No, for sure.
Is tough.
No, I do agree.
Yeah, it's actually such a delight for the single people. I mean, you allow people to play to their strengths. So have them essentially have a lot more control of how they approach someone, where they approach someone, the manner in which they approach someone, giving them all the necessary
And the space in which.
Exactly. So massive plus for all the single people out there.
I actually wanted to say how this came about. Actually, the reason that I thought about talking about this, I was listening to The Daily Show the other day, and Trevor Noah mentioned in that show that there was a conservative party dating app. So it was created by Trump's administration because it's crazy. What they were finding is that these people would go on, let's say Tinder, they'd get a date, they'd go on the date, and shortly after the date begins, I guess their political standpoint or their views of being a conservative supporter would come to the forefront of the conversation, and very often people were like,
That's it.
you're a Republican, and they would leave, right? So there was this real problem that was happening, and as a result, they were like, okay, well, let's make this app. I think it's called The Right Stuff, which very clever play on words, really. But yeah, the whole point is, at least I think the whole point is with a lot of these things, at least, you know, as soon as you start, you have at least a certain amount of shared interest.
Yeah.
So like on that app, it's like immediately, oh, I already know you're conservative. No worries. We can go and wear our Make America Great Again hats or whatever you want to wear to that date. You know, I think it's pretty awesome. I must say, like, I know technology has its flaws, but things like this actually, I think, are pretty cool.
I'm imagining something similar in South Africa, like an ANC party group.
I was
DA like, oh, you didn't vote. And then you can't be a part of
you
the app.
Spoiled ballad.
Yeah, there's honestly so much out there for people to try, and it's incredible to see how seen people are. I think that's what it amounts to.
Yeah.
You're no longer
Yeah.
just isolating people to be kind of viewed according to their physical appearance as the only thing that is working in their favor. So now
What's
we're getting
that, dude? And also, like,
see a lot more.
you don't have to like fit into like the mold of what is required.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to do what you think to be dateable. So like, if you're into astrology, maybe not everyone's into it. You hear a lot of jokes about like, oh, she asked you your star sign, be careful, bro. But like, if you're on this app, you can that's an interest of yours, and immediately you know you don't have to change that part of you when you're speaking to the people that are on that platform.
Yeah, because there wasn't a
That's
lot
quite
of online dating facades. That's what the big surge in catfishing, because people are trying to look a certain way. And if you watch the show Catfish, it's always someone that was trying to fit the mold of what society deemed to be the it girl, the it guy. I must be in peak athletic form. I need to look a certain way. And to use that in order to make even just casual friendships has been what we've seen. So
A lot of people our age, the main complaint is that there are time wasters, and people are tired of losing months or years of their life trying to make something work. So I think a lot of people are finding that these are actually helpful, because now they can immediately have an interest with someone, and those fundamental things can get almost like sorted out immediately, and they don't have to, in inverted commas, waste more time.
Yeah, I think that's 100% true. But hopefully, people that are listening, it will be great if you let us know any of your experiences, any unique dating apps, anything like that. We're keen to hear about it. Like, we really love talking about this kind of thing. So make sure, as Tev and I, is now our job to tell you to make sure you drop a comment, do the thing.
Like,
this is where Tevin would edit in the little notification bell.
yeah,
that thing that he puts in. And I think that's actually a good place to move into the second section, which normally we call getting athletic. But this time it's going to be a bit more philosophical. Okay, so I thought we'd keep the title, but this time, like, we getting athletic with our philosophy, our minds, our approaches to a question. Okay. Let me just explain
our
what
brain.
it is. Exercising our brain. So I came across this really, really interesting article where what they talk about is, the title is What We Are Getting Wrong About Being in Love. And I thought this would be a nice thing for us to discuss. Least, Tevin, how long have you guys been married now?
In December it'll be a year. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, nice.
10 months?
Yay, we're coming up on 3 years now.
Hey,
So we've been together for quite some
hey.
time, yeah. So we thought it would be I thought it would be quite a nice thing to discuss. Now, this article,
Yeah.
very, very interesting article. They talk to the author of a book, and that book is called Sad Love, Romance and the Search for Meaning. It was written by Carrie Jenkins.
Okay.
And basically, what this article does is it talks about various. They have an interview about the book, and the whole idea is that they are asking the question: do we need to change our view on what we see as romantic love? So we're in the age now of social media, where we know that there's a certain idea put forward about everything. I mean, it's even related to what we just spoke about, right, with the dating apps. But we have this idea or this facade of like what true love looks like, right? It's constant, like all smiles, hugs and kisses, like just being constantly happy. And there's this whole, again, facade. I'm sure we'll get onto that in a little bit. But basically, one of the first things that they discuss, and I wanted to get your opinion on it, was they talk about a concept that they call failure condition. Right. So what the failure condition is that we are conditioned to believe that if we are not inexplicably full of joy, like if our relationship isn't just full of joy, that must mean that the relationship is a failure. So it's happy or nothing is basically like within your relationship. I guess I wanted to get everyone's opinions on like, what do you think about, let's start with, what do we think about how society or what we see as a successful relationship, what is that supposed to look like?
Yeah, I think, okay, cool. I'll lead it. I think society really showcases love to be, like you said, it's very extreme. It's all out happiness constantly. It's only flowers every day. It's the whisking you off to the Maldives every second month. It's buying each other fancy cars, clothes, etc., etc. So all of these massive outpours of what society deems to be love is the constant kind of mark that people are needing to adhere to. And it's crazy because I definitely give props to the big showcases of love, these big gestures. That's a great part of it. But the everyday love is what society doesn't really focus on enough. The day-to-day, the small things, gestures. It can be a post-it note that's written, "I love the way your hair looks today." It could be really small things that make a bigger difference in the day-to-day than a very periodic big gesture.
Yeah. As someone who's a massive romantic, growing up watching romantic comedies, it's like absolute poison for the heart. I think when you're watching all of these things, and the grand gestures, the sweeping you off your feet, the arriving on a hot air balloon from the sky, and running into the airport and trying to stop the plane or whatever it is,
As they about to go,
right before takeoff, and I think it's just crazy. We do set ourselves up for failure because those things are not only sometimes unrealistic, but they're not necessary. And I think for myself, and I know for so Tevin was my first boyfriend, and I remember when we started dating, I had all of these like really high expectations of what I wanted love to look like. And even though Tevin was loving me with the fullness of of his capacity, if you have an expectation that is unrealistic or romanticized or from the movies, it's never going to meet what's actually important and what is actually valuable love and meaningful love. And I think one of the real mistakes we make in especially our age, is that a lot of the way people portray love and see their friends being in love is on social media. And all of those forms of the proposal that happened at sunset on Lion's Head, or the 1 year anniversary photo shoot in Tokai Forest, or whatever it is, those are not the everyday things. Those are not the important things. But because
Yeah.
that's what we're seeing, we don't know what's going on in other people's lives. But the minute you see that, you think, oh, they're so in love. It's really good for them. Wow, look at that beautiful sunset.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with what's actually going on in their life.
Yeah.
But when we see those things, we think, wow, I'd also like a romantic photo shoot in Takai Forest.
Hint, hint, nudge, nudge.
Noted.
Taking notes. Taking
It's a
notes.
little bit far now.
Bookmark.
Yeah.
It might take you a while to get there.
We've had romantic picnics in Emmarentia Dam. But yeah, I think it's just those setting your friends and family also up to believe that that's what they should be expecting, and the things we
Yeah.
don't share online, those are the really important moments. The
Yeah,
moments you
yeah.
talk and break through things that you've been going through individually or together. Washing up the dishes while you listen to old school R&B, whatever it is that brings you closer together. That's the really important
Yeah.
stuff. And I wish,
Cooking a meal together.
yes, the basic stuff, the buying something small for the house that's going to make your life easier, like a new vacuum.
Yeah.
Or those are the things that
Look at this cool mop I got.
those are the really important things. And I think
Yeah. I
I
agree.
think we just see way too much of each other's lives, and especially we only see the good things that are going on with other people. And I wish, not that we could see more of the not nice things, but I wish that it was a bit easier for us to know that the normal things are the really important things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what
Yeah, I
about you?
like
How
that.
do you feel?
So I feel like, yeah, I had a laugh, Tev, when you were explaining like the weekly flowers and the Maldives trips and this and that. I was like, damn, man, relationships must be expensive. Who has money for this?
Yeah.
For that like dream, I think it was really beautiful what you said as well, Lise. Like, we see so much of these like curated, because we tend to forget, right? Instagram, it's totally curated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a creative representation of someone's life. And like, when do you post? You post when, oh, Tyler got me flowers, I'm gonna post,
Yeah.
for example, right? But I don't post like, Tyler drove home in the rain today and I waited for him with a towel at the door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't. Okay, that's so
Yeah.
that's
yeah.
a, like
That's like a real example of
it's-
what we go through.
of like, that's for me like caring for
Yes.
you,
Yes.
and those kind of
Yeah.
things. And like, we don't see that. I think I also wanted to add on to this, like, I don't know if you guys had a similar experience, but for me, I found it quite intense. Like, when we were getting married, so many people were so fixated on the wedding
Yeah.
that only one of my friends asked me how I felt about getting married.
Oof.
That was it.
Wow.
True.
Everything was
So true.
just the wedding.
Yeah.
Wow.
The actual event.
Yeah,
like,
the
day.
how's the planning
What is
going?
your dress
Yeah.
gonna
Yeah.
look like? What's the
What's
date?
the menu?
And I was like, guys, like, it's one day and there's this whole period afterwards.
Yeah.
And like, I think for me it kind of relates to what we're talking about now. Like, people are so focused on these events, but there's day-to-day stuff
Yeah.
that happens.
Yeah.
And no, it's not always roses and it's not always great. And, I think it's just, being there for each other.
Yeah.
And there's those things, like, I can't remember, one of you said as well, there's so much behind closed doors.
Yeah.
That's where it exists, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't actually exist on Instagram
Yeah.
or on Facebook or anything like that. There's so much you can't see,
Yeah.
and that's, for me, I think, like, where the real stuff is.
The other day I asked Tev and I said, do you think everyone is as in love as we are? Because we were getting ready to get married, when I don't know, I'm getting all shy, guys.
It's just us here. It's just us.
So shy. I think I never knew that marriage could be this beautiful. I always thought that it was a lot of hard work, because a lot of people are like, and even now, because we've only been married a few months, people will tell us, oh, it's gonna fade,
Just wait.
don't worry, it'll go
Just
away.
wait.
True.
Just
You in
wait.
your honeymoon
And I'll
phase.
tell him, like, I don't want
Yeah.
it to go away. That sounds awful. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to wait for the day when it's not romantic and it's not beautiful and
Yeah.
it isn't always it doesn't look like a movie. I don't think it's ever looked like a movie, but it's perfect, because it's with
Yeah.
Tevin. And I was saying to
Yeah.
him, I just can't believe how people have this idea that marriage is supposed to be something that you survive. When people
Yeah.
live
Yeah.
to be married for like 60 years, people are like, whoa, imagine living six. And I said, only 60 years? I need more than that. I'm asking for 100 years with him at least, you know?
Yeah.
So I think it's sad that a
Yeah.
lot of people think that your partner is just supposed to be there next to you the whole way through and not being a part of what enhances your life, what makes it better.
Yes. Yeah. Or like the whole like kind of ball and chain analogy that you get, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like you go out like in the evening and it's like, oh, your wife let you out tonight, and it's kind of like, well, no, I actually like spending most of my time with my wife. It's not about her letting me out, like like that whole analogy. But I mean, I will say honestly, it is hard work. It is work, not it is.
It's
But
not like laborsome.
it's not. Yeah, it's not
It's
tiresome like
logging,
breaking
but like
breaking huge boulders in a prison cell kind of hard work. But I mean, it's effort. It obviously takes effort. Like being in a relationship. Obviously, we know that it does take effort. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about that effort being worth it. You know what I'm saying? Like it's actually like you want. It's not a task, a laborsome task that you don't want to do.
Yeah.
You put in that work and that effort, but because you want to. It's like that thing that like you just said, Lisa, like where it's like, and we still hear it. It's like, oh, like how's things going? Oh no, they're going really, really well. Oh yeah, just wait, just wait. It's kind of like, but why are you wishing this on me? Aren't you like my family or my friend? Why would you say this to me?
Yeah.
Like, let me be here and let me and wish that I'm here forever. Why would you wish that this would go away?
Exactly.
But that actually brings another point up that is also part of this article that's in this Carrie Jenkins book. They talk about sad love, right? And the whole idea behind that is that when you're in a relationship with someone, you are in a relationship with another person, and if that person is not happy, let's say outside of the relationship, let's say they're not happy, then people believe that the marriage is a failure, right? So the whole thing in this book that they discuss is accepting that you're with another person, and then that person, just like you, have a range of emotions, and that person going through a bad day, a difficult day, a tough day, or being angry, or whatever the case may be, is not a reflection of you within your relationship. It's not to say that Katya had a difficult day today, she's feeling quite down, she's missing her family, oh, she's sad, that must mean that the relationship's not good.
Yeah.
And I'll extend that one more step. I've learned like to not always fix, like stop being Bob the Builder in the relationship. If something's wrong, sometimes Katya just wants me to listen and not to give advice and not to, something, how am I going to fix? Sometimes we try and we help each other and we not fix the problem, but we assist each other as much as we can. But other times it's not about me solving the problem or Katya solving the problem for me or making that thing go away. It's like, my man, I'm sad, I'm angry, I want to stomp my foot and I want to be sad and angry. Let me be that in this moment. And they talk about how that is such a significant part of all relationships.
Yeah, that is vital, man. That's such an important lesson I also had to learn. Like, I'm always trying to fix things in order to make sure that everyone that I love, especially my wife, is well taken care of. That she's okay, then I can be okay. If she's happy, okay, cool, I can be happy too. Kind of like that balance of emotions. I'd like her to be happy because that extends to me. I am an extension of her, and it's been a liberating experience. I would say that my wife is someone that's taught me to feel feelings. Quite being an introverted person, and how I've kind of, I guess it would be self-preservation. If I look back at it in hindsight, it's by not opening up too much and conserving those emotions internally, I haven't had to appear or make myself seem vulnerable to loved ones or friends or family. And it was really pretty much until I married Lisa and I could fully be vulnerable. Being vulnerable is such a great place to work from. There's so much
Yeah.
growth. There's so much
Scary.
learning. It's so scary to even just,
Uncomfortable.
yeah,
Uncomfortable.
admit
But
your
good.
feelings. So
Yeah.
whatever you're feeling, to verbalize that is a bit of a game changer, I would say, because in that sadness or in that disappointment, that yeah, that the negative emotion that you might be feeling at any point in time, there's so many lessons that come out from that that make the everyday a lot easier. I'm able to
Yeah.
come home and say, yo, man, you know what? I'm so disappointed. I mean, I'm disappointed in this person because they did this to me. And I
Yes,
didn't like
yes.
that. I really didn't like that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
previously, that would be something that would just sit within me. I'd paint that up, and that gives so much room for resentment to build and grow, kind of like a seed that you just keep filling and filling and filling, and then one day you'd erupt, and who knows if that relationship could be something that you're able to get back at all. So sadness or sad love is an important
Sad love.
part of
Yeah.
One of the things we've recently been really experiencing is that more than one thing can be true at a time. Like you can be both mad at
Duality.
someone
Yeah, yeah.
and still love them deeply. And it doesn't mean, and not just in our relationship, but with family or friends. And you can be
Yeah.
disappointed in something that happened, or you can be excited, but also heartbroken. And you can, more than one thing can be
Yeah.
true for a person
Yeah.
in any one go.
Yeah.
And whether you feel disappointed or excited or any kind of emotion for a person, it doesn't take away from the fact that you can still love them
Yes. I
completely.
like that. Yeah. Yeah. It's not like an ultimatum
Yes,
either, like
yes.
That's what the other.
about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, I think that's actually like a really nice rounding place because you're talking about the experience that you have. So now let's say we're done getting athletically philosophical with our minds. Um,
Oh, before we move on, can I
Yeah.
just quickly put this one
Of
little thing
course.
in there? So, like earlier, we were talking about work, right? Relationships, taking work, and I think if you're not in a relationship, you kind of like, oh my god, like what is that? What does that mean? What does that look like? And like, I just want to say, like, these are the things that it means. Like, the work is internal, right? It's like, oh, Lisa's helping me be more vulnerable. Tyler's helped me feel more safe, and
yes.
that's the work. It's
Yeah.
like it's an internal growth. You help each other become a better person, essentially. I mean, if it's healthy,
Yeah.
you know, because it could be another way. So anyway, I just wanted to, yeah, I just dropped that in there.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
That's
true.
honestly so true. That internal resistance, I would say, from changing from a creature of habit to someone that knows best now. You're not simply what's the word? Oof. English bundle. But you're a lot more knowledgeable about yourself. So the work is
Yeah.
to remember to push past this discomfort
Yeah.
and push through it.
And it's not about your partner
Yeah.
coming to know you. It's about both of us coming to know each other and ourselves better. Because if you get to a point where you're like, oh, I know this, you should never know your partner completely. You should
Yeah.
always be learning new things about them. Like they're going to evolve and you're going to evolve. You have to be willing to be able to learn
Change,
new
yeah.
things about yourself and each other, so you don't close the
Yeah.
book. When you got married, it was not
Yeah.
because you knew the person completely now. And
And that's the end game.
Yes,
It's over.
yes.
We know each other.
yes,
Yeah.
it's
I love that so much.
so
Yeah.
even at the end of our lives, one day, whatever, I should still be like, oh, I didn't know about that about Tevin, and I should still be learning about
Yes.
him because there's so much to him. And if you close
Yeah.
that book and be like, no, but why did you do that? You don't like that. You need to be open
Yeah.
to learning and
Yeah.
knowing more about one another and yourself.
Yeah. Sure, we're dynamic creatures,
Yeah.
right?
Evolving.
We're not
Constantly
stagnant.
evolving.
Like,
right?
you know,
Exactly.
experiences are happening, we're learning things, we're doing things.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
exactly
Okay,
it. So
cool, so-
yeah, viewers, listeners, let us know what you've come to understand about love and the depths of love. So beyond what
Big picture
we
love.
see, exactly beyond the social portrayal of what love should be like, in the levels and depth of love. Have you come to learn about sad love? What have you learned about sad love that has improved your relationships, both romantic and your friendships. Really,
Platonic as well, yeah, for sure,
yeah,
because it's
Malcolm.
also can be applied.
Exactly. And then we'd move into our final section of our show, which we call Matters of the Heart. And in keeping with today's theme, Matters of the Heart, which is essentially run through our entire episode, we wanted to touch on some advice for couples that are thinking or have moved abroad. So we've come
Yep.
across an article by the writer Alex Heary. I hope I've said that correctly. That talks about some advice for couples that thinking about moving abroad. And he, in this article, talks about his move from Colombia to Mexico with his wife and kind of the experience thereof.
Yeah.
So he highlights a
Yeah.
few things that they did right, they did wrong, and really are some notable points for people to consider when moving abroad.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna just give a quick overview of some of the points he talks about. So the first of which he says, you'll both be really stressed out at some point. I think that's pretty much a given. The logistics,
Yeah.
the planning, the finances, everything.
The unforeseen
That's the thing.
challenges,
You
you
can
know.
plan until the cows come home, but once you make that move, things could be completely different to what you might have seen online or heard from people. So that is something that people really need to take into consideration, is that you are going to be stressed out, but you need to remain
Yeah.
focused on this, and remember that this is a partnership. Even if things go pear-shaped, you shouldn't resort to turning on each other, because this is your safe place.
Yeah.
This is your home. The home is where the heart is.
Yeah.
Here's your person. This is the person that you're moving cross-continentally for. And if things aren't right here, then you're going to be in a very isolated space, and that's more challenging.
Yeah, and I think I'd also just add to that and say like two things. So firstly, I think also the difficult thing also with like the stress conversation is that it's also, you can read a lot, but also a lot of stress points are unique.
Yeah.
Because again, we are unique and dynamic people, so whatever causes you stress might not be the same. So you can plan the logistics and everything, but you know, things could happen that are unique to your situation, right? And that is something that one has to understand, like going forward. Like when we arrived just before COVID.
I was gonna say,
and-
take it a step further. Sorry, like there was a whole pandemic.
Yeah, so there was
Like
and-
that, there's no way.
exactly, and they had to change certain like, let's say, logistical things like getting your visa. The whole thing changed during COVID, and obviously we'd never experienced a pandemic, so not only did we not know what to do, but
No one.
nobody knew what to do, right? So I couldn't read online about what to do, try as I might. You know, like it was
immigration had no plan.
Yeah.
There was no plan for it.
It
They
was
just
because they didn't know. Remember, at the beginning of COVID, it was like always like everything was short term. It was like, okay, borders are closed for 1 more month. This place is closed for 30 more days. We're going to see what happens in 3 weeks, right? So those kinds of stresses that came up, you know, were unforeseen. But the second thing I'll also say is like, Tev, you say like our partner, you know, is like home is where the heart is and everything. In the same token, like when we get annoyed or irritated or testy, let's say, I think the easiest, or not the easiest, but the first person by default that sometimes feels the result of that or the burn of that is the person that's closest to you, right? Like you're much less likely to snap at a friend. Like if you're stressed, you're much less likely when we're recording an episode to snap at me. I mean, I hope, but that might make for good viewing. But do you know what I'm saying? Like you're much more likely if you're in a stressful moment to say something or snap at that person because of how comfortable you are, because of all these other reasons. And I think, like you said, it's so important to just remember the role that person plays, and that you're there to support each other.
Yeah.
You know, like when you're asking these questions that sometimes you like, why are you asking me so much about immigration? I don't know. Like, how am I supposed to know? It's like, I'm just asking because we need to figure it out, kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
Can I just add to that as well? And it kind of loops back a bit to what you were saying previously, you know, about the sad love thing. Like, I think, and like one thing I'm learning as well now, I mean, we haven't really spoken about it, so this is also like first time happening.
First time for the big vibe.
I feel like, at the moment, also going through a thing of like, I feel like you being more comfortable with me when I'm upset about something.
Yeah.
Like if I'm like, I don't know, Tyler, you didn't put the knife in the sink, for example. And Tyler's like, oh, are you irritated with me? And I'm like, yes. And he's like, okay.
Not like it's just a knife. Why are you so irritated?
He's like, okay, cool. And I'm
My
like,
bad.
cool. But then, 5 minutes passes.
Fight me.
Yeah, 5 minutes passes and it's fine. But I feel like we've gotten, also to that stage of like, I can be upset with him and he can be upset with me. And that's okay because we're both allowed to feel our feelings. And then just let it go because you're not going to be upset forever.
Yeah.
You
or
know, but,
stressed
like,
forever, like this
Or
first
stressed,
point.
and
Yeah.
it's the same thing. Like if I'm stressed and maybe I do snap, we were actually talking about this today. We've learned now to just be like, okay, cool. Like you're just having a bit of a tough time. That's fine. And just let it go instead of previously we might have
Want to unpack
antagonized.
it. Like, why are you so annoyed?
Yeah.
Why are you so stressed?
Don't
I
take it
don't
out of
control
me.
immigration. Why are you like this with me? Like, where it's like, I'm not like this with you, but you're the closest person and I'm annoyed, so just accept it,
That's the thing. That's
Yeah.
honestly.
I think one of the greatest contention points about moving is that there's so much pressure for it to work because you've invested so much time. It's maybe a job that you're leaving for or whatever it is. And all of those things are so much pressure because it has to be successful, whether it's
Yes.
for work, whether it's because it's got to do with your family or you're moving house. Now you've like taken off your lease and it's a huge amounts of money that have also been invested
Yeah.
into this. I think one of the huge mistakes friends and family make is they assume this was handed to you and it's like, oh no, this was work.
It's a lot of planning.
Work.
Yeah.
And if you've been to Home Affairs or TLS or any of the other places where you have to go do a visa, it was laborsome to leave the country.
Yeah. It's a long day.
It is a lot of work.
You also just you don't wake up and you're like, hey man, let's like immigrate tomorrow.
Uproot our lives and
It's
just
like-
go.
Yeah, there's months and sorry if that was okay. There's months and weeks of work and thinking and conversations and all these
Yeah.
things that come into it and stress is totally normal.
Yeah.
Like,
So obviously there's so much pressure for it to be a success that you put that on yourself and your partner. And when a lot of people are like, why don't you have your visa yet? When is this happening? And shame, people are really just trying to be helpful. But
it's not their fault. Yeah, I get it.
at that point, it's like a constant reminder of the thing you're trying to make happen so desperately. And when it's going to work, it's going to happen at the right time. But I
Yeah,
think for a lot of
for sure.
people, especially people our age, where you're coming from, you don't have a lot of money, you're literally leaving maybe to go make more money or a better life for
Yeah.
yourself. There is a lot of pressure, and I think a lot of people back home also feel a sense of betrayal, like, oh, you're leaving to go and have a nice life, you're gonna go have an easy life. I'm sure you guys have experienced it. You live in a tropical place, it must be so chill and beautiful and easy for you
Always
guys.
on the islands,
Wow.
what.
They're just imagining you in like swimming costumes on the beach doing absolutely nothing
Yeah.
when actually
And you're like,
you're
fam.
working. So, yeah.
right? And also, do you know how much I could just wish I could meet my mom for a cup of coffee?
Yeah.
It's not there's
yeah.
a trade-off, right? It's not just like I'm here like having a great time. Like there's also very real things that
Which we are as
happen.
well at times, but it's like you said, it's
Yeah.
those small, hey mom, coffee. Tev
Fine.
spoke about it before in one of the previous episodes, driving to your mate's house.
yeah, like or even hey guys, let's have dinner together, the four of us. How amazing would that be?
Like we had to start a podcast to spend time together. I mean, come on, like
Once you go to-
let's be real.
That's exactly it. And I mean, I think more often than not, some of these stresses aren't self-induced. We deal with a lot of external pressure that impacts on you. So to just also remember, again, how much are you in on this? I'm as invested
Yeah.
Yeah.
as my partner would be in this, and then just trying to make it work. The second point that the article mentions is that you'll get a little bored with each other, and that's normal. So it says you're going to be in a completely new environment with little to no social network, which is obviously something that I think we've all experienced thus far. And it means spending more time together than normal. While it's not a bad thing, it's also not entirely healthy that this would only be your essential social outlet. So to remember to kind of also maintain those relationships that you have with friends and family,
Yeah.
and also try
Yeah.
to then form new social circles outside of that, which, as we've seen, is fairly tricky. So to try
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
find ways in which you can enter into new social groups and social circles, be it going for a quiz night, be it signing up for five-a-side football, whatever your
Playing
strengths
some sort
are.
of sport,
Exactly. So using your
Yeah.
strengths as a tool in order to gain entry into these kind
Yeah.
of things.
Yeah.
Because being with your partner, we said, it's incredible. You mentioned it a little earlier that you love spending time with your partner, and people say, "Oh, shame, you finally being allowed to leave the house 2 months of the,
Yeah.
every 2 months
Yeah.
of the year." That's not because we're tied down and we have to remain with our partner indefinitely.
Yeah.
We just enjoy doing
Yeah.
things together, and that's, I think, something that people only understand once they're in very committed relationships. And something like
Yeah.
my perspective changed completely from being single into being in a relationship.
Well, yeah, it's like navigating also. So, like, I was actually saying to Katya the other day, like, I reached a stage where I found that Katya kind of became everything to me at a stage, right? Which, you know, like, she was like my soundboard. She was my wife. She was my partner. She was my best friend. She was all those things all at once. And whilst that sounds romantic and lovely on paper, you also need just shaking her head, yeah. You also need people serve purposes in your life, right? And I think we feel so guilty about having people serving different purposes. Like, we want it to be all encompassing, you know, you want to be whatever it is. But I found like it was actually becoming quite strenuous, not just like, I think for her it was becoming quite a lot. Like, it was like, although it may sound like glamorous, oh, she was my everything. It's kind of like, well, my man, you also need to have other people that you can speak to also in a different tone, because we don't always speak to each other in the same tone that, let's say, even you and I talk to. Like, you and I talk in a different tone to how I talk to Katya. You know, it's all about compartmentalizing as well, you know, understanding that, yeah, we're here for each other and we're there. Like, I got your back, but also, like, you got a huge back, man. You got to have other people have your back as well. There's a lot of stuff that that needs to be taken care of, and that's where, you know, you find the other areas or the other outlets. Like, for me, it's been social sport that I found here that's been really great for me, you know. And whilst I don't always think that everyone that I've met will become like my best friend, those people serve those purposes at that time, and the activity serves a purpose. And I felt like, for me, because that relates very strongly to me, finding a different social group and also understanding that it might become overwhelming for your partner or for you. I think it's a very important point. That's actually
Yeah.
Like that. Okay. Yeah. Again, like you said, having multiple outlets is a very vital thing, because also sometimes you'd want to get perspective on something, and your partner might be a little too close to the situation. So can you objectively get an opinion that isn't that of your partner's, or the opposite of what stance you've taken?
like, we can't just ask Katya and Lisa what they think of the big vibe.
Yeah,
Because
best pod
we need
Love
ever.
it.
the best pod.
And then,
But
sorry, yeah.
no, just saying that as well. Like, I know for me, I've also got this like proper like little mama bear instinct. Like, so like if Tyler asks me about something that's happened at work or whatever, like my initial reaction is like to protect him. So I'm like totally biased. Do you know what I'm saying? It takes me a while to like calm down, to take a step back and look at it like from an outside perspective.
Yeah.
But my initial reaction often is like protection. You know, so it's also
like innate.
you know, if you hear, or if mine is the only opinion he's getting, it's not very real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like,
I'm
So-
sure you've both met people who, because they don't have anyone to like actually confide in, or that's not their partner or someone else, the minute they're around other people, they leak information and like hurt. So they'll literally like see you and they'll be like, oh my gosh, did you know what my husband did over the weekend? And you're just like, whoa, what is that about?
I don't know you like that.
Whoa, I didn't need to know that
Like,
information. And it's like you know, you actually need to have someone or other people in your life who you can talk to or get advice from, so that you don't leak. And I think a lot of
Yeah.
people paint,
Leaking, I
paint
like
things up, and then but when they're so full of hurt or resentment or anything that's happening, they don't know who's the appropriate person to actually be sharing this information with,
yes.
and then
Yeah.
they just all the information just falls out completely on the sides when they're not
for
meaning it
sure.
to. So yeah, I think it's really important just to have people on all sides. And it's hard, like when you move to a different country, you know,
Yeah.
who can you trust?
Sure.
Who's got good intentions
Yeah.
for you? You know, and it's hard to
Mm-hmm.
know those kinds of things. And yeah, we're learning. We're trying to make new friends, go new places, and
For sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
football's been a nice way for us to make friends and venture out
Oh,
here.
Because our
nice.
teams are doing so well as well.
Yeah, it's a really good season, really good
It helps.
season.
It helps.
It really is one for the book so far. I'll just touch on two more points before we wrap this episode up. And he's mentioned resolving all conflicts before you move. So if there was something that was left unresolved prior to moving, that would obviously impact on the relationship once you have moved abroad.
Yeah.
So for
Yeah.
any outstanding or lingering things that's been pent up or kind of had a bookmark placed in it, to speak through that, work through that, to give yourself the best
Sort it out, yeah.
exactly start to your new life once you have moved abroad. I think it's a
Because the grass isn't always greener.
That's
You know,
true,
that's the
man.
whole thing. Like, you think it is, and then this thing comes with you.
Yeah.
It comes. You don't leave those
No.
problems wherever you left. You know, it may, at first, when you're in that new country honeymoon phase, it may feel like that problem no longer exists. But I know firsthand there's problems that I didn't resolve within myself before I came. And they came back, and they come back harder because you actually kind of forget about it. And maybe not even in relationships, like internal issues, you know, which we always facing and trying to overcome and etc. But I think that's a nice point.
Yeah,
to make,
exactly.
yeah.
I mean,
I was gonna say not.
yeah. Sorry, you
Sorry,
go ahead.
Kev. I was gonna say not just for like couples, but like as individual people. You know, if you're traveling, like you're never gonna run away from anything.
Yeah.
Your problems. Okay, some problems may be environmental, but most problems are
Societal,
internal.
Yeah.
You know, you don't leave things behind. Like you still with yourself.
Yeah. all the time.
They
Yeah.
follow you. Like they're still there.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up?
For sure.
You know, even if you haven't heard from them in a while, like you say, I
Yeah.
mean, you know, your little things that come up, they do come with you.
For sure.
So I think it's pretty good advice. But you know, also, I guess like you can't put off traveling. You know, you can't be like, oh, I have to be in a
perfect
super zen
first, yeah.
place
Yeah.
before I can move, because that's also not realistic, I suppose.
Exactly, taking them hand in hand or together, and knowing that, as you alluded to earlier, there isn't always going to be the ideal setting, time, place, etc. These conditions that allow you to then progress to the next step. So that's
Yeah.
something to bear in mind. And then the final one I want to touch on is it says to remember intimacy with your partner. So obviously a big thing with couples, physical intimacy being the standout of that. We found it's a great way to feel closer to your partner and
Comfort as well,
that's the
you know,
thing,
it's
just
that,
be,
that comfort.
yeah,
Yeah.
that space to be in that bubble, if I can call it that.
This has been such an amazing time for us just to really get to know each other again and again and again in a different
Yeah.
setting, under different conditions. And it's the same like what we were talking about earlier with social media and things like that. And people back home or external people will look at your life and think, wow, we saw you went to a football game. You must be living your best life. You must be thriving.
Yeah.
And it's like, actually, our relationship is probably better than it's ever been, but it's not got to do with the
Yeah.
fact that we went and did nice things.
not that- yeah,
It's not got to
yeah.
do with,
Yeah.
it's got to do with the fact that we're actually alone and that we can really work on each other and on ourselves and really strengthen
Yeah.
what we have going on here. And those are the things that no one's going to know about, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important, is just to focus on, have we got this right? Is this going well
Yeah.
here? And
Yeah.
then worry about
Yeah.
everything else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
I get that. I also think like okay, also similarly to you guys, we moved quite soon after we got married, right? But
Yeah.
I really, really feel now like you are my family. Like Tyler's my family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, that's it. It's not just like it's my husband. It's like, but he's my family.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how else to put that, but and I think like the experience of getting married and moving. Someone actually brought it up. I think it might have been your stepdad. That like you don't have interference from your family. A lot of newlyweds have, you know, people commenting or advice
Yeah.
or this and that, and like
Do this that way, or you should think about this.
yeah.
Or, yeah.
I'm not saying one way is right or wrong. Just my experience in this, I have found it like, I don't know, pleasant. I
Yeah.
guess I don't know what the right word is, but just to exactly figure things out yourself, like in this little bubble, being together. You know, I think we've really gotten to know each other very well.
Yes.
You know, and I think it feels solid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're really given the room and the space to do it without pre-existing conditions or
Yeah.
kind of standards that have been put on you that you're
Yeah.
trying to live in accordance with. You've been given a fresh slate. You literally just the two of you
Yeah.
finding out more about each other without these barriers.
Yeah.
Yeah, stuff
Yeah.
like that.
I think
And again, I don't think one is like right or wrong. It's not to say like get married and move overseas. That's how it's gonna work. You know, like it's not to say, because in a lot of cases, you know, like if you are maybe the advice is like, maybe there were times that we needed advice and we actually didn't get it because
Sure, yeah.
we were isolated or alone in a albeit lovely country. We were far away, you know, like, so it's not to say that it's successful because of X, Y, and Z, but you know, just through our experience. And I mean, even when we went home, and we were home for like 6 weeks, 5 or 6 weeks,
Yeah.
and we spent a lot of time with family. You know, I said to Kati a few times, like, I miss you, and she's like, at first she's like, what do you mean? Like, we together all the time? What do you mean? And eventually, like, she said to me, she's like, I miss you too. And I'm like, it's weird, right? Like, we together so much, we're still doing everything together, but this is not like what we used to. So we don't have that same kind of, again, intimacy that you're talking about, physical, emotional, whatever you want to call it. That wasn't you
Sorry,
know,
thunder. I don't know
thunder,
if
yeah.
the mic picked it up, but
But yeah, that's basically all I wanted to say. It's not just to say that moving overseas is what made it work or doesn't make it work. Sometimes the advice is welcome, but for us, it's been great like this, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so take advice as you receive it, but then obviously tailor it to what's important to you and then filter out what isn't. You don't have to
Yeah.
live your life according to the means in which someone said you must follow.
Even
or-
though the big vibe is wise, well, it's not for
There
everyone.
you go.
It's
We
not for everyone. What can I say? What can we
give
say?
you the advice and you guys choose how you'd like to use it.
For sure.
So yeah, very interesting article there for people to read through. I think these are very key points that Alex has
Yeah.
mentioned here. Just some of
Oh,
the,
Alex.
yeah,
Your friend Alex.
my mate Alex. Thanks for
First
that.
name basis now.
So yeah, just a few points to consider for people looking to move abroad. As we said previously, there's so many factors that play into your decision moving abroad. So this, along with the questions about why you want to move abroad, how your life is going to move abroad, need to be taken into consideration.
Our shopping advice.
There we go. Nando's, we're still waiting on you. I'm just gonna.
Nando's, we're waiting. We're waiting. We're gonna eat some
Write
chicken
a
wings. We're looking for the
formal email
sponsor.
after this. And then-
Flame grilled big vibe. It
You
works.
really
It
just-
works. I'm telling you.
Come on, man, we're on your side here. But I
Yeah.
think that's a good point for us to wrap up today's episode. It was a very meaningful one. It was such
This
a
one was
good
for us.
Yeah,
Let's say that it was for us. This
it
was a
really
special
was.
episode for us.
we really appreciate
Um,
having our wives on this. They are our
We do.
voice of
We really
reason,
do.
thanks, man.
and they know us sometimes better than we know ourselves. So to share this
sure.
space, share this platform, and just engage with them on these topics has been such a refreshing experience. And
Yeah.
yeah, definitely the standout special episode thus far.
Yeah.
thanks for having
And you're gonna
us.
feature again, maybe
Yeah.
sometime.
Sure.
Yeah.
Maybe 25. And it can
Maybe
be
25. Maybe
25,
25.
yeah.
Because it still rhymes.
I like that.
25 vibes with the wives.
Episode
right?
25. Vibes with the Wives 2. 2.0. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, thank you. Like what Lisa said. Thanks so much for having us. It was really cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, so thank you guys. Once again, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, engage with us on Instagram, TikTok, Apple Podcasts, we're on Google Podcasts, we're on Spotify, and you can watch this video on YouTube. Don't forget to share with friends,
We're
family,
going.
and give us your opinion. We really want to know more about you, your relationships, the things that you've worked through, some useful advice that you've heard that you've applied to your lives, and also give us a touch on some of those dating apps that you may have.
We want the disaster date
Yeah.
stories, please.
Yeah, we
Oh,
want the juice.
disaster
We
date
are
stories. Looking for the spice.
Yeah, so let us know. We'll actually might refer to quite a few of these, depending on the engagement that we get in next week's episode. But for now, that's it from us. And we want to say, we'll see you next week. Cheerio for now.
Guys, see you later.
Bye.
Bye.